Rest. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. Breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on. 8. Done.
What is up, Mutant Nation? My name is Ranya Temizkan. I'm an IFBB Pro women's bodybuilder. A lot of you know my physique, but you don't really know the athlete behind it and kind of my story, and that's what I'm here to tell you guys about today. I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and I moved to Las Vegas around 8 years ago. I came here to go to UNLV, and I've been here ever since. Before bodybuilding, I was a dancer. I spent a majority of my childhood growing up on a stage. I loved to dance, sing, act, all of the above, and I truly, truly enjoyed performing. I danced up until I was 18, and when I moved out here for college, I wasn't dancing as much anymore, and I felt a real lack of drive and passion. I knew I needed to find something to keep myself active and continue on with that part of my life. And somehow bodybuilding just came really naturally to me. I started out going to the campus university gym. It was just a few steps away from the dorm. I was a little bit more familiar with the powerlifting side of things, so I knew how to squat, bench, deadlift, shoulder press, and that was my basics. I was definitely training more towards strength training at that time. Slowly started incorporating in more accessories and kind of changed my training into more of a power building type split. Progressed pretty quickly for me just because I became addicted to it. I really just enjoyed seeing myself change every day, seeing myself get stronger. That was really what motivated me, is I wasn't necessarily looking for a certain type of physique. I was just training to train because I really, really loved it. So genetically, I am definitely a bit more predispositioned to hold on to muscle tissue a bit more. And even as a dancer when I was younger, I was not the most petite, most tiny girl on stage. I always was a little bit bigger, a little bit more broader, definitely one of the sturdier dancers. And I guess all of that translated really well into bodybuilding, and within a few months of lifting and really just enjoying what I was doing, just having fun with it, learning all the new exercises, learning how my body works and how my muscles contract, and just dipping my toe into the bodybuilding world. I think within about 8 months or so, I ended up doing my first bodybuilding competition. I started in the figure division, and I was very new, very fresh, and definitely did not know enough about the bodybuilding world to have done too well. So I didn't. I definitely didn't place well, but I still loved to bodybuild, and it was still something I knew I wanted to have in my life and really work towards, even though I didn't have necessarily goals of competing competitively. In 2021, I stepped on the stage as a wellness competitor. I stopped training my upper body for a full year before that, and when I got on stage, I came to the conclusion that my upper body just likes to grow. my body likes to grow. I am definitely better suited for the bigger divisions, and realistically looking at myself in 2021, I knew it was either going to be a bigger division or no bodybuilding at all. So I didn't want to put that pressure on myself to fit into that size that I thought I'd have to get to. So I honestly didn't take bodybuilding too seriously for the next few years after that. I knew I loved to train. I love to train hard. I like to progressively push myself, get stronger, and it was just a few years of just doing that. And it wasn't until I met my husband, who is my now coach, who's been coaching me for the past 3 years, that I realized I actually have a really good opportunity to do well in this sport in the women's bodybuilding division. And since meeting him, since really dialing in and learning a lot more about this sport and everything that goes into it and everything that it requires of you, it wasn't until then that I've felt super confident in saying I'm a bodybuilder and stepping on stage and really, really living this lifestyle that I do now. So this is Tolga, my coach and husband, and I think a lot of people are very curious about how that relationship works, because the lines do get blurred, and I think that there's no way to keep them fully separate. Being my husband, being my coach, he sees me every day, and he's constantly thinking of, how I could be better, how I can do better, what little things need to be changed throughout my day. So I think our relationship is a little bit different.
Yeah, now, especially now that you're a professional bodybuilder and we've got shows to win and compete in, it gets harder, but it's also very interesting and exciting at the same time, because it's a different dynamic from what we first had in our relationship. Now it's very competitive, and it's how can we be better together? How can I be a better coach, and how can you be a better athlete, and how that works in the household. And everything we do compounds interest in our relationship, and also as coach and husband and athlete and wife.
There's definitely some road bumps in that.
Yeah.
I think there's some little things. For example, leading up to the show, we want to make sure that my body fat is low. So he'll just be talking to me, and then he'll just kind of go over and start pinching at my body fat and see where we need to work on. And
watching how much salt she's putting on top of her food, and if I'm like, hey, you need more salt, you're a little flat, put more salt on, or hey, pull back. Every day it's something new, which is interesting, but it's fun because it's an experiment. It's also a good test, like what we can deal with.
I think that's what's really kept me engaged in bodybuilding, is that it is a huge experiment. And then the way that Tolga coaches is unlike any other coach I've ever seen. It's not just me that he pays attention to with all of his athletes. He really does pay attention to every single little detail. Obviously, we have an advantage because we're together 24/7, so he sees when I'm tired, he sees how hard I'm doing cardio.
The biggest hurdle for a husband as well as a coach is when you're making decisions based on the athlete, and when you're looking at your partner, if you do coach your partner, is take the emotion out of what you're trying to do. You know you're going to be, like your wife is going to be tired. You know the changes are going to be hard to adapt to. You know that the decision you're having to make to get them to the next level is very, very difficult. And sometimes your emotions sort of take over and go, I don't really want to put you in this position. I don't want you to struggle with this and suffer a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're working as a team, it is a business together that you are invested in. You need to do what you need to do. That's probably the biggest hurdle that I have faced by pushing you into that position. And I see when you're on the couch, you're exhausted after leg day. I want to come sit with you, but I know you're a bit, a little bit up and down, so I just keep my distance and leave it be. But that's to be expected, because being 2 weeks out, especially now, I think people don't realize how hard it is to coach a partner, because it's constant battle of, I don't want to do this, but I have to, because it's required. And that's why we go by, you've always got more to give.
Yeah, that's what he always says. And I think I could say the same probably about when you prescribe me more cardio or train harder or eat less. Yeah. I've got to have that solid boundary in my mind that he's not doing this to punish me. He's not doing this as my husband trying to make me feel worse. He's doing this as my coach, trying to get what we want out of it.
Yeah, which is the best result, and that is the final package on that day. And that's all that matters right now. It doesn't matter about your emotions. It doesn't matter about how tired you are, how hungry you are, because we're working towards a goal, and that goal is to get where?
In the Olympia.
People think it's going to be easy once they get their pro card. It's actually the complete polar opposite, because look at the obstacles you had to overcome. You worked your ass off, and then you're like, okay, I just got to continue working my ass off. And some people think they're going to get what they deserve, but it doesn't work that way. You have to work to deserve the life you want, and this is the life you want. It's a blessing. You get to train, eat, compete professionally, and I think anyone would trade for that.
Definitely, yeah. I think something that I would tell someone who is aiming to earn their pro card is that the pro card is just the beginning. It is not the end all be all. It does not promise you sponsors or fame or media. It's not going to solve all of your problems. It is just the beginning of where you could push your career to. And for me, receiving that pro card was just the beginning. I knew that once I received that title, it was up to me to uphold it and to, like I've said before, portray myself as a professional athlete. And professional athletes, they make appearances, they share parts of their life, they share what they're eating, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, how they deal with the good and the bad. My social media, my YouTube, my Instagram, I don't just share all the highlights. I share the ups, the downs. I'm very real with my audience, because I want people to know that this isn't just an easy sport that once it's handed to you, you can just keep soaring with it. It requires work every single day, and it is very easy, especially once you're getting that attention from media outlets or sponsors or social media, to kind of get in your head and let yourself, think a little bit higher of yourself. But I think that the most valuable thing you can have in bodybuilding is to stay humble, because that's what's driving you to work harder. Because I see the athletes around me, I see how hard they're working, I see the athletes that have been competing as pros for years before me that I'm about to go up against, and I see the greatness there, and it just drives me to do better. I want to push myself harder every day because I know that they're pushing themselves harder every day. And no matter how much attention or how many people on the street or in the random, gyms say like, oh, you look great, you could do well, that's just noise to me, because I know I can do better. And I know that every day I can give more.